and he like shared this link with
Yeah,
me.
okay. Yeah, I
Is it
know.
okay?
I hope it will be helpful because you can find a lot of information online. But yeah, I mean, now it's the workshop based on my experience and maybe based on the successful cases, you can better assess your chances. And yeah, to be honest, we will not speak about innovator visa, but later on you can follow up with me and I can try to find more people who can help you with that. But maybe Global Talent Visa will be your opportunity. I don't know. We will see.
Okay, thank you. That's great to hear.
Do you work as a product manager or something like that? Kirill.
Oh yeah, excuse me. Could you repeat the question?
Do you work as a product manager or
No, I'm not. Right at the moment, I'm studying in London, and
Mhm.
I used to work as a software engineer for about 3 years. And right at the moment, I'm trying to start my own business.
Mm.
In clothing, yeah, selling some clothing and that stuff.
That's
Mm.
nice, actually, because I heard that you don't have work experience, and I thought you were just a student. And probably having this experience will help you to build the case because one of the criteria is to demonstrate that you have relevant experience. So maybe this workshop will be indeed insightful.
Oh, yeah, that's great to hear.
And also, there are many software engineers who obtain this visa. So in this way, you can always find many people and check their profiles. And it's actually the easiest way to find like the benchmark whether you eligible or no for this visa and just copy their profiles.
Yeah, okay. I
Um,
also have some questions, but I think it will be better to ask them like after the presentation, isn't it?
Okay, yeah. Also, we record this presentation just because we know that many people they sign up, but I think they will watch it online, and I hope you don't mind if we make a video. And I think should we wait a little bit or we can?
Yes, let's wait for 3 minutes.
Okay, cool. Hi, Anastasia.
Hi.
So it's nice. We have Russian-speaking community, but we will make this workshop in English because we will publish it on YouTube. And yeah, but basically we could also run it in Russian because yeah, everyone speaks Russian so far.
Anastasia, where did you see this link to this workshop? In Meetup, Instagram, or where?
Meetup.
Okay, that's fine.
That's nice because we published the announcement on several resources. I think my LinkedIn and then Instagram, and also I sent an email to several people. Actually, they were going to visit this workshop, but I think they will just watch it online later on.
Okay, so I'll start. Maybe I will take only, I think, several seconds to present my community, because this event is organized by Startup AI Product Management Community. Can you see my screen?
No, because I think I'm sharing a screen. Do you think maybe I should stop sharing and then
Okay. Anastasia, Kirill, what do you see now?
Startup AI product
Okay.
community.
Yes, this is my screen. No worries. Okay, so I wanted to present this community. It's a very new community. I just organized it maybe 3 months ago. And I want this community to be international. So I plan to gather not only Russian speaking, but also other international people to community. And the community is dedicated to startups, AI, and product management. And I want people to share their knowledge about in these fields. And actually, I don't plan to hold webinars only about technical stuff, but also about some other, like today's webinar about global talent visa, because Olga will share real cases how product managers has got this visa. You can join this community in meetup.com or in Telegram. I will wait for maybe a few seconds, and then I think Olga will share her screen.
Yep,
So I stopped
I will
sharing.
share my screen.
Uh-huh.
So guys, I hope you can see my screen, and I will try to make my workshop insightful and also short to not take too much time. Also, so you can see everything, right? So there's a short introduction about my company, because I think it's very important to know who you work with. And we are the mission-driven company, and we have our own philosophy, which is the world without borders. That's why over the time, while we are working in this market, we try to create different services and products to help people to pursue this philosophy. And the Global Talent Visa itself, it's about finding your voice and finding your talent. And for many people moving to the UK and settling there, it's something what represents their dream. We started to work in 2022, and our success rate is 95%. And we are a boutique agency, so we don't handle many cases in one cohort. And normally we work with 2 or 3 cases full time, and then we support other clients like consultations or with other kind of inquiries. And you can see and check more about our company on our Instagram or our website. But I suggest you checking our Instagram, because it's something what represents our philosophy, and it's something what represents our approach to working with the clients. And speaking about the Global Talent Visa, I don't know if you're familiar with the concept itself and with the benefits which this visa provides you with. So shortly speaking, it's the fastest way to the UK passport because it includes applying for the endorsement. And if you're successful, you can apply for the residence in the UK. And after that, you can apply for permanent residence. And then in 1 year, you can apply for the UK passport. Shortly speaking, in 3 or 5 years, you can have the UK passport, and it's the main motivation for people to apply for this visa. Another benefit of the UK Global Talent Visa is that you are not sticked or tied to a specific employer. So basically, you can do whatever you want in your field. And you can be self-employed, you can run a company, you can work for the company in the UK, you can work for the company in other countries. It also doesn't require from you any investments or English proficiency, so you don't need to pass IELTS exam. And also, if you have family members who would like to move with you to the UK, they can apply for a dependent visa, and then they will be granted the same rights as you have under the Global Talent Visa. Speaking about statistics, which is also important, you can see that over the years, since this program started, the number of applications is increasing. And based on my experience, the number of successful endorsements also increasing. So if you are still thinking whether try or not to try, I encourage you to try because currently statistic is very optimistic. And another important detail is that depends on where you apply from, you have different success rate. But I don't think that it shows that Tech Nation prefers people from one or another region. In my personal opinion, it's kind of network effect because in Russian-speaking community like Belarus, Ukraine, Kazakhstan, there's a community of people who applied for the Global Talent Visa, and then they help other people to build successful cases. In countries like Bangladesh, Pakistan, this kind of network effect is less common. That's why when people start applying for the Global Talent Visa, they lack examples of how to apply, what kind of evidences can be provided. And that's what, in my opinion, leads to the negative decision by Tech Nation. And I want to specify that examples are important because many people who start working on their cases, when they read the Tech Nation regulation, they don't understand what is expected from them. And it leads to some mistakes which make people doubt whether they have talent, whether they are eligible or no. But once you have examples, actually you can understand that you don't need to be like Einstein or someone really outstanding to apply for this visa. Also regarding the skills, as you can see, the majority of people have software engineer background. And then another big category of applicants is business applicants. And then the third significant share of applicants is product manager. But overall, there's like a lot of different professionals with different backgrounds who can apply for the Global Talent Visa. And before you apply for the Global Talent Visa, it's also important to check whether you fall under the category of technical or business skills, which are eligible for the Global Talent Visa. And they are available on the official Tech Nation website. So Tech Nation divides normally applicants into technical and business categories. And there are also several fields or occupations which are normally not eligible for the Global Talent Visa, which includes outsourcing, consulting, corporate roles in non-technical companies, or working as a junior investor analyst in VC. For example, corporate roles in non-technical companies, it's normally, for example, you work at the company as L'Oreal or like a big bank. And then if you don't work particularly on the technical product, in this case, for you, it can be challenging to demonstrate that you are working in the digital technology field. So speaking about the application itself, what you have to prepare. I divided the entire application in 5 simple documents or 5 simple steps. The first is CV, then personal statement, then 3 letters of recommendation, documents for optional criteria, documents for the mandatory criteria. And it's important to start working from documents for the mandatory criteria and then go ahead with the documents for the optional criteria. And then as the last part of your application, you should prepare letter of recommendation, personal statement, and CV. And it's kind of confusing because when people start working on the Global Talent Visa application, the most familiar part, of course, it's CV, personal statement, and letters of recommendation. And many people, they start working with those evidences. But the idea is that all the evidences, which is letter of recommendation, personal statement, they should kind of mirror and reflect the storytelling, the narrative which you create within the mandatory criteria and within the optional criteria. For example, if you firstly prepare letters of recommendation and then you provide, you claim something, this letter of recommendation, and you don't disclose it properly, don't demonstrate it properly in your documents for mandatory criteria, technician will say, okay, just based on your words, and we don't see any third party or any credible evidence that you actually work on this project or that this project achieved this particular success. So in this case, it's always easier to start with building documents for the mandatory criteria and then go ahead with optional criteria and then letter of recommendation, personal statement, and CV. So in total, your application will consist of 60 pages maybe. Speaking about mandatory criteria, in my opinion, it's one of the most fundamental and the most difficult and also the most important. So, you have to understand what is the mandatory criteria, what is the idea behind the mandatory criteria. The idea behind is that you have to demonstrate that you have been recognized as a leading talent in your field, or if you've been recognized as a promising talent, the talent which has a potential to be recognized in your field. And this recognition is normally based on the achievements within your work and the achievements beyond your work. And Technician Guide, if you check it, it has like the list of eligible evidences or examples which you can provide. So in total, for the mandatory criteria, you can provide between 2 and 6 pieces of evidences, which means that between 2 and 6 examples of you being recognized as a leading talent in your field. Each piece of evidence should be no more than 3 pages. And the most common examples can include launching a successful product, participation in conferences or podcasts, if you have been like a judge in hackathon or had an opportunity to judge the work of others beyond your main work, for example, as an accelerator expert or a mentor, if you have certain publications in media or journals, but it's not like academic peer-reviewed journals. It can be some platforms like Hackathon or the UK Startup Magazine or any other media outlet in your field, which means that it's credible enough to have like simple review of your content, but it's not that kind of peer-reviewed journal where review takes about several years. Another way how you can demonstrate that you have been recognized as a leading talent is that, for example, you work at the company and then this company thinks that you are so talented that it gives you equity-based stock options, equity-based bonus, and also it can be performance review. So it's quite often for the companies like Yango, I don't know if you know this company, or even Google or Meta, any company which has this kind of performance review metrics, which you can demonstrate that you are in the top 10, in the top 20%, whatever. Also, it can be contribution to the open source, it can be some achievements and awards, and the list of the examples is open. So some people, for example, they participated in accelerator or they participated in bootcamp, and then their work was recognized and one of the best like student works, which is not really about like something what is award, but still it can be something competitive where you show that among your peers your work stand out. And one of my clients used this experience from the bootcamp for the students to demonstrate that his work was recognized. So, and you will have to provide, as I mentioned, between 2 and 6 pieces of evidences for the mandatory criteria. Normally, people provide 3. One example will be work-related, and then 2 other examples will be non-work-related. And if you don't have most of that kind of evidences, it's still okay, because you can start working on them. Because most of my clients, they start participating in podcasts or conferences. They start writing articles specifically for the Global Talent Visa, because they saw that this is like the projects, this is the experience which they can work on, and most of the people, they start liking it. So Elena, she is not an applicant yet for the Global Talent Visa, but she already started building her public profile, and she really does enjoy like not podcasting, but I think conferences and something like that. And now we will discuss like what I mean under the case study for the Global Talent Visa, because most people, when they read the Global Talent Visa guide, they are confused, because it says that you have to demonstrate that you led the growth, you led the product development within the product-led digital performance, digital technology company. And as I mentioned, it should be free-page. And this is an example of the case which we built a year ago. It was from the iOS developer, I think. And under this evidence, the idea was that we had to demonstrate that her leadership was recognized based on the product which she built. And my client, she was building an application for the ecosystem related to student education. So it was a COVID time, and many schools, they didn't run their activities as it used to be. So many things, they had to become online. And my client, she was working as iOS developer. And as a part of our evidence, we demonstrated that this is like the architecture which she designed for this product. Then we demonstrated how this product looks like, just to provide technician with an idea about what was the final product. And we explained step by step what kind of milestones this project achieved, because firstly it was more about technical building, then it was certain features which she integrated, and then we also provided the screenshot from the internal system which explicitly demonstrate her name, and that's how we proved that she was an executor of this project. But building the project itself, it's not enough, because you have to show that this project was successful, because everyone works on something in the product digital technology company. So, and as a proof of the success, we demonstrated that this product was big enough that it connected thousands of people across this country. And that it was recognized as one of the best projects in a particular field. So another part of the evidence was that we had to request the letter from the CTO, because on the one hand, we provide a storytelling, we create a narrative which shows that the person, she led the development of the mobile application, but technician always can question like, okay, it's all based on your words, but how else you can prove that it was your leadership involvement in this project? So that's why we requested a one-page letter of reference from her CTO, and her CTO described that it was her particular involvement in this project which allowed this project being noticed, which allowed this project being that much demanded by student. So in this way, on the one hand, we provided a narrative about the narrative which met the Global Talent Visa requirements, because under this requirement, you have to demonstrate that you led the growth, you led the development of the product. On the other hand, we provided authentic evidence which proved her leadership role in this project. Also speaking about our successful cases to demonstrate that the variety of the evidences which you can present under the Global Talent Visa is very huge. I decided to describe shortly our endorsements, which we secured with product managers, because officially the agenda of this workshop is Global Talent Visa for tech founders and for product managers. So one of our last clients who received Promise Global Talent Visa, we demonstrated that he was recognized based on the launch and development of a successful fintech product. And as a proof of the growth of this project, we demonstrated geographical expansion and growth in retention metrics. So we showed that this product went across several countries, and it's not just went across several countries, but also the retention became really high. And for the fintech, it was a challenge because you could see that in the past years, there are many fintech companies evolved. So achieving a stable and high retention was a challenge. And because of him, the company did it. And another evidence which you presented, it was recognition via regular shares granting, because our client was really talented, so he received the shares about 7 times, and it means that the company, it sees his talent. So in this way, we also demonstrated that he was recognized. And apart from that, he started participating in the podcasts. To be honest, before Global Talent Visa, before he started working with us, he didn't have any public profile. But then I think in 8 months, we just made kind of organic public profile. And he participated in 3 podcasts, and we presented it as the sign of recognition of his talent, because we explained that that kind of podcast, it's very important in his field because it's about product management. And then we explained that the topics which he presented, it's also quite demanded in community. Another client who received talent, because there is Promise and there is Talent Road, which are different roads for the Global Talent Visa based on how much experience you have. Global Talent Road, it's over 5 years of experience. Promise Road, it's less than 5 years of experience. So in this way, for the Promise category, the expectations for the public profile is a little bit lower. And speaking about the client who received the endorsement as a talent, we included an example how he launched and developed a successful tech product. And we demonstrated also growth metrics, and we demonstrated the awards which the client received. Okay, I see the question. Okay, we will make a video. And another evidence, it was the amount of investments which he secured with his product, because it was over 1 million, and for his product, because it was EdTech, it was one of the biggest investments in his market. So that's why we explain that for the product of this type, securing this amount of investments is a sign of recognition. And we also presented it as a free-page case study. And as a third evidence, we presented performance review. And with this performance review, you could clearly see that our clients falls under 10% of employees in this company, because the company was huge. It has over 20,000 of people, and then he managed to be in top 10. And it was kind of really credible way to demonstrate that his talent is recognized on the company level. And when company is really huge, it means that he competes with many, many people who are also talented. This is another example of this is another example of the evidence. It's example of shares which the client was granted based on his performance. I decided to include it just to demonstrate how this kind of evidence can look like, because many people, when they read Global Talent Visa Guide, they don't know how to illustrate that shares granting can be an evidence of the recognition. So in this way, it was important not only show that you have been granted the shares, it was important to highlight, based on the policy of the company, that not everyone receives these shares. Only certain employees, they receive equity-based awards. Because without the right context, you cannot convince technician that your talent have been recognized. So every time when you work on your evidence, provide the context which explains how this experience or how this award proves that you've been recognized. Okay. The next slide is about optional criteria. I hope that everyone understood the idea of mandatory criteria, that it's always about recognition in your field. And apart from the mandatory criteria, which is the mandatory for everyone, you have to prove 2 optional criteria. And in total, there are 4 categories of optional criteria, but then again, you have to choose only 2 of them, which you are going to prove. And then for each optional criteria, you have to provide at least 2 pieces of evidences. Shortly speaking, the first category is innovation, second category is contribution beyond your main work, third category it's contribution to the field, and the fourth category it's academic contribution. And now I will explain more and also provide several examples of what can be considered as innovation, as contribution beyond main work, etc. So the first criteria is innovation, and not everyone has it, because it's mostly for the technical applicants, I would say software engineers especially, because, for example, if you're working as a business applicant, like a sales manager or a partnership manager, it's very unlikely that you can prove technician that you've been involved in the innovation development. Of course, you can provide feedback from your clients, but it doesn't really impact the innovative nature of the product. And under the innovation criteria, you have to demonstrate that you had a leading part, you had a leading role in the development of the innovation, and then that this product or this project is innovative enough. So only based on your words, it's not enough to prove that your product is innovative. That's why you have to always think about some third-party verification, like a patent or like an award which the product receives, or for example, some products can be featured in Forbes innovation section, because also media featuring can be considered as a third-party verification that the product is innovative. And again, it's important to understand that it's not for everyone. So only people who has this profile, which is involved in building the product, in my opinion, they can demonstrate that they work on innovation. It can be product managers, it can be software engineers, it can be founders of the company. Again, speaking about how it can look like, it's free page case study where you explain what is your role in this innovation development. Then you provide the evidence that this product is innovative. And as you can see, I provide the screenshots of the media which calls the product innovative. Apart from that, you provide the screenshot of the architecture, and you explain why from the technical side this product is innovative. And if you have any awards or more third-party verification that this product is innovative, also attach it. So in total, it's important to demonstrate that you had this role, leading role, and then that technically the idea, the product is innovative, and then there is always a third-party verification that something is innovative. Second criteria, it's optional criteria number 2, and it's about your contribution beyond your main occupation. The good thing about this criteria that everyone can build it from the scratch, because most of the applicants who decide to apply for the Global Talent Visa, they don't have neither mentorship, neither workshop, neither open sources. And then when they start thinking about the Global Talent Visa, they realize they can start building it. And for this criteria, it's also important to understand that there is no there is no strict list of examples which you have to demonstrate. I would say there is like the practice, and based on my practice, most of the people provide mentorship, at times articles writing, conferences, workshops. But some people are creative and then they go over the designation guide and then they provide other evidences. It's important to meet 3 requirements for this evidence. So this evidence should happen beyond your regular work, which means, for example, if you work in the company and this company holds hackathons or organizes conferences and you participate in this conference, it doesn't mean that it happened beyond your main work, because in certain way for technician it will look like as it was part of your working function. Second criteria, that this experience should be unpaid. The reality is that at times there's a symbolic fee, and many candidates, many applicants, they are mentors, and then some platforms, they force them to accept payments because that's how this program works. And in this way, it's kind of tricky. But if you are in this situation, I just advise not to mention that you are paid. And yeah, it's better not to avoid mentioning, because if this fee for you is really symbolic and it's not your main source of income, in my opinion, it still meets the Global Talent Visa criteria. And the third and the most important criteria is that this activity should positively impact tech sector. And I think that the clear difference can be like when you think about mentorship. On the one hand, there are many platforms where you can start being a mentor, and then Technation often rejects applicants who provide only platform-based mentorship experience, because for them, the benefit for the tech field is not obvious. But if you apply for the mentorship program, which is kind of a structured program, and it selects mentee from the tech field, for Technation, it's a more solid evidence, because in this way, you can make a narrative about several students who had no prior understanding of a particular problem or a particular field, and then with your help, with your expertise, they build understanding, they build their knowledge. So be always careful about this kind of non-profit unpaid experience, because the ultimate goal of this experience should be the positive impact for the tech sector. The third criteria is professional contribution, and everyone has it. The biggest challenge can be identify what can be your type of contribution. And it can be technical contribution, commercial contribution, entrepreneurial contribution. In my way, it's very similar with the mandatory criteria when you have to demonstrate that you had the leading role in the development of particular project. But at times you can divide it like in several ways. On the one hand, under mandatory criteria, you can provide and explain the experience from one company, but then if you have experience from other companies, for the optional criteria, you can provide evidences from other companies. Or if you have work experience only from one company, then you have to think about how you can divide that big fundamental project in several parts. And one part you can, the project overall, you can explain under the mandatory criteria, and then several parts divided, you can demonstrate it as a part of your optional criteria. But I will show examples further, and then it will be more clear. And speaking about technical, commercial, and entrepreneurial contribution, it's important to understand if you claim technical contribution, then your evidence should include technical diagrams or product architecture. If you claim commercial contribution, then it's always about the metrics, and you have to think about what kind of metrics demonstrate your contribution. Speaking about my clients who received endorsements, my client who was a promise, he was a project manager, and he contributed to the launch of a new product version, UX UI development, plus slot manager. I think that you all know the company Revolut, I don't know how to pronounce it, to be honest, but he was participating in the major redesign as a product manager. Of course, it's complicated work and many teams, they participated, but he also had a massive contribution to this project. And Revolut has around 10 versions, and now it's like the latest one, and it's one of the most successful, and they called it like the biggest redesign ever. And we just explained how he contributed to this project. And another contribution was contribution to the retention increase via creation of incentives ecosystem. So maybe you remember that in the beginning, when I was speaking about the mandatory criteria, I told that our client, he helped, he led the growth of the project, and we demonstrated the geographical expansion of the product and the retention metrics. So as a part of the mandatory criteria, we just disclosed the metrics. We showed like how they improved since he started working on this project. But as a part of the optional criteria, we disclosed, we demonstrated the tools which he used to achieve these metrics. So we showed like more a technical part of his contribution rather simply the metrics. Because let's say this incentive ecosystem, it was not a single feature which he created. It was like 5 or 10 different features which he created for this project as a product manager, and then it helped retention increase. Another client of mine, product manager, he contributed to the unit economics because it was basically his product, it was ad tech product, and this product had many different sub products, let's say for students of different age, and he created one of the most successful products for this company, and the ultimate benefit was for the unit economics. So we showed what kind of product he created out of the entire range of the products, and then we showed how unit economics improved. It was like the metrics which we demonstrated. Also, another interesting example is, for example, our client, he was CPO, and then he helped to secure a strategic partnership, which led to successful sales growth. Saying that it was strategic partnership, it doesn't mean that it was only based on communication. So if it's technical company, strategic partnership means API integration. So he also explained how technically he supported the entire process, and then in the end, showing sales growth, it was easy because company published it somewhere on its announcement portal, on some blog. So the most important was to build this narrative between what kind of project he led and then the metrics which it impacted. And the fourth criteria, and not many people have it, it's academic contribution. But if you have it, you're a lucky one, because I think Tech Nation likes academic contribution. So under academic contribution, we understand publication in peer-reviewed journals. You can include here participation in some conferences, which is also academic conferences. Also, if you've been involved in some research during your university or after your university in the tech field, you can use it as an example of your academic contribution. But it's the most uncommon example of the contribution, and for me it's difficult to tell you what exactly can be provided as an example. But yeah, I mean, usually the Technation guide gives you an explicit list of activities which can be presented as a part of academic contribution. After you created your case, and after you built your case studies, which are mandatory criteria plus 2 optional criteria, you can start thinking about letters of recommendation. And trust me that it will be quite easy after you have all this work done, which is like about 70% of the entire work. And for the letters of recommendations, there are certain requirements. First of all, the person who writes the letter of recommendation should know you at least 12 months. Then the person who writes this letter should be more experienced than you normally, unless it's like the situation when co-founder gives a letter of recommendation to the candidate. But normally, Technation checks the profile of the person who writes the letter of recommendation, because it's important for Technation to trust the opinion and the expertise of the person who writes this letter of recommendation. So if you work in the company, try to ask letter of recommendation from the highest possible not colleague, but because from the colleague you cannot take the letter of recommendation, but from the highest position, I mean, seniors, C-levels, anyone who is higher than you. Another important part is like that the people who write this letter of recommendation, they should not be no-name people. They should have a public profile, and the better public profile, the better, because if you provide the letter of recommendation from the person who is genius in your field, but you cannot prove that this person is genius because he doesn't exist online. I mean, many people, they don't care about their LinkedIn. But for Tech Nation, they don't like to spend time Googling around like who is your referee. For them, it's always easier to check the LinkedIn of the person and see if this person exists, and to check his experience. Each letter should be not more than 3 pages. And of course, when it comes to the letters, it's very unlikely that people who you request this letter from, they will write the letters of recommendation. Most of the time, you write the draft and then they sign. So when you write the draft, it's important to not to make them look different. So avoid templating. For example, here you can see 2 letters of recommendations, and they look very, very similar. If you apply that kind of style to the letter of that kind of style and you apply for the global talent visa, probably technician will reject it because they will tell you, okay, we see that it was you who wrote this letter, so we cannot accept it because it's not based on unbiased judgment of the person because you are the author, and it will be very difficult to convince them that they are wrong. And that kind of letters of recommendation, they should be about your work. So it can be like normally 2 letters of recommendation, they about your work achievements. For example, some letters of recommendation, they can describe the projects which you also described for the mandatory criteria. And then another letter of recommendation, they can describe project which you described as a part of optional criteria. And then the third letter of recommendation, it can describe the project or activities which you run beyond your main occupation. So normally 2 letters focused on your work, and then 1 letter it's focused on your achievements or on your activities beyond your main occupation. And the last but not least, it's CV and personal statement. Personal statement, it's only 1,000 words. And in our opinion, it's better to make it more simple and sincere, because I think it will be, it's something what can create sympathy towards you. And if you make it like only facts about you, technician will not remember it. So it will not, they also humans. So for it's important for technician to show you from the human side. I mean, like to speak about your dreams, to speak about your ambitions, not only speak about your achievements. And it's only 1,000 words, so make it kind of very easy to read. Avoid ChatGPT and just write it with some mistakes, with normal human beings approach. Yeah, and the last part, CV, it's only 3 page, and also try to make it simple, not use kind of corporate style, which you probably use for your CV when you apply for work. Also include extra activities which you do beyond your main work. So include all the articles, all the workshops, all the conferences, everything what is extra. You should include it in your CV, and make sure that it aligns with your LinkedIn profile, because there was a case in my experience when the person was rejected firstly because his CV stated that he has over 5 years here of experience. Then his LinkedIn was confusing it, and it was like less than 5 years of experience. Then technician, it tried to assess whether he's promised or whether he's a talent. So in the end, he was assessed as a talent, but he presented achievements as a promise. So he was rejected because for the talent, he didn't demonstrate enough evidences. And it was like a stupid mistake, because I think he just did not update his LinkedIn profile. And I don't know the reason why on LinkedIn profile, he included more years of experience. But anyway, CV and LinkedIn, they should be like the same in the way where you work, what is your experience. And the last, yeah, a little bit of advertisement. As you probably understand, it's important to see the examples when you apply for the Global Talent Visa, because when you read the guide, the Global Talent Visa guide, you start questioning yourself how I can present my achievements. That's why we created the Global Talent Visa guide, which includes examples for almost each criteria, and it provides the narratives. It explains what you should include on the first page, on the second page, on the third page of each evidence, and then each narrative is supported by the example which we built based on the successful case. So if you are struggling currently with examples and with some illustrations, you can buy our guide and then follow up and ask me questions about the guide, and yeah, I would be happy to answer them. So I think my presentation is finished, and now I'm happy to answer questions if you have any.
I have one question about a company. I heard that my company should be also, it shouldn't be like ordinary company. Is it true? It should also have some awards or recognition. Is it
Actually,
true?
not necessary, because I think that yeah, normally the basic criteria is the product-led digital technology company, so it should have the product which is the digital product. If you work as a consultant, or if you work as in the outsourcing field, then it can be a problem. But the basic criteria is the product-led digital technology company, and then you can find many different ways to show that your company is successful or demanded, because as a proof of your recognition, you can provide like the list of the clients who use this software or who use this product. So you can say that like top tier clients, they use my work. So you just have to be creative and think about what can demonstrate your company leadership.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, guys, I think you don't have questions because you you don't ask anything. But if you have more questions, just I don't know, follow up with me on my email. If you want, I can send it. And yeah, I will be happy to answer.
I have a question, actually, a couple of.
Okay.
Yeah. So thank you for the presentation. And my first question is, how usually does it take? How long does it take to get a visa from time of application?
So you mean if you already prepared your documents and then you submitted them for the technician assessment? If it's your question, then it will take between 2 days and 2 months. If the case is good and they are satisfied, they usually give you endorsement in 10 days. If the case is not the best one, it will take longer, and then like probably 2 months you will have your decision. But even if you're rejected, it's okay, because if you have negative decision from the technician, it's easier for you to convert it in the positive, because they provide like the explicit feedback about what should be improved. And then my practice shows me that people who've been rejected once, they easily get endorsement from the second attempt. But about the timeline, again, the formal timeline is 2 months, but then based on my practice, it's 2 days, between 2 days and 10 days if the case is strong one. And then you can apply for the stage 2, which is home office. I think you have to apply within 3 months after you have positive decision. Or you were asking about how much time you need to build a case.
I think I asked about both of
Okay.
the situations.
If your question is about how much time you need to build a case, so if you have everything ready and you don't need to work on your public profile, for you it will be 6 weeks normally. But if you don't have all the evidences, so you have to participate in a workshop or you have to write articles, it will take between 6-8 months, because it's not only that you write an article and then it's ready. You have to wait and then to make it look organic for the global talent visa, because otherwise technician will tell you, you are not the talent, you wrote those articles specifically for the global talent visa application. So in this way, you have to make all the public profile activities quite organic for your public profile and make them look like it's not specifically for the global talent visa. It's just because it's your genuine interest to like to share your knowledge, to be heard by the community.
Okay, thank you. And also I have one more question. I'm not sure about my current situation. Right at the moment, I have a student visa, and I'm currently living in the UK. And can I upgrade my student visa to global talent and proceed with my studies, or I have to, I don't know, to do something specific with that, or even I can proceed with my studies after receiving the global talent visa?
To be honest, I'm not sure whether you can go ahead with your studies, but I think you can, because I think that people who are global, there is no restriction regarding studies. If you hold global talent visa, you cannot be like fitness trainer. So there are several restrictions about what you cannot do as a global talent visa holder. But studies, I don't think that it includes studies. But to be honest, better to ask immigration lawyer, because of course you can convert it like your student visa in the global talent visa, but whether it's legal, I'm not sure. From my perspective, from my understanding, it's legal because it's not falling under the restrictions for the global talent visa, which are non-tech related activities like fitness training and etc. But for you, I would suggest to consult immigration lawyer, because I'm more like storyteller, and yeah, I do know many things about law because I used to be a lawyer.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have time for one question?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, first of all, thank you for your presentation. I joined a little bit late, but it's been very helpful. I have one question. If you've seen any cases from people working in non-profits related to technology?
To be honest, I never seen, but I think it can be quite interesting case because TechNation, they have the agenda of tech for good, because TechNation, it's not only organization which assesses global talents. So it's like the entire ecosystem of the United Kingdom, which is responsible for innovation, which also includes non-profit activities. I think that if you are not simply volunteering and then you can show that your talent can be relevant for the tech field in the UK, you can apply. But I never worked with this field because I think it's rather exotic. But again, I think that this is something what technician probably will like.
Oh, okay, thank you. And you still offer the 1 hour consultation as a service?
Yeah, we have a 1 hour consultation as a service.
Okay.
But if you want to book it, then we have to discuss in advance the list of the questions which you have to prepare, and then because it's not like ad hoc service, so we have to be prepared both.
Yes. Okay, so can I send you an email or something, or because
Yes,
okay.
send me an email and just attach your CV and LinkedIn.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, Olga, thank you very much for your presentation. It was brilliant. Thank you very much. And I think it was very useful and interesting.
I hope so, and I hope people will decide to apply for the Global Talent Visa because it's a great opportunity. And it's not only the visa, it's like the network of people who are Global Talent Visa holders. My email, yeah, 1 second, I will share it. It's a good idea, actually, I should attach. So guys, I shared my email.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Okay, have a nice evening, everyone.
Have a
You
nice
too.
evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.